Welcome to the podcast Real Estate Matters. I'm Amit, your host, bringing you a wealth of expertise as a realtor, real estate investor, and coach. In this podcast series, we are embarking on an enlightening journey through the complex world of real estate. Each episode is carefully put together to equip you with the knowledge and insights necessary to make confident decisions in real estate. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, an experienced investor, or just intrigued by the dynamics of real estate, join me and my special guest in each episode as we explore crucial topics, share valuable tips, and embark on a journey towards financial gains through real estate. So let's start to navigate the exciting world of real estate together. Hello, and good morning. Good morning, and welcome to this very special episode. Today, we're going to dive deep into an integral part of real estate. This is a part of real estate which I give a lot of importance to, and it has come about in terms of sharing this valuable information at the right time. Today, I have a very special guest for this podcast. So I want to really welcome you today. If you're joining us live, that's amazing. Real Estate Matters podcast. This is a podcast that I host, not only sharing information from me, but I bring these experts that will give you tremendous value and will help you in making all your real estate dreams come true. So help me welcome today a very special guest. We have today in our podcast a very special guest. His name is Ryan Carson. Hello, Ryan.
Hello. How are you,
Hi.
Amit? Nice to see everybody on Facebook.
Thank you, Ryan. Nice to see you too. Now, Ryan is a lawyer. He specializes in real estate, and he is really tremendous in terms of the knowledge that he shares with his audience, with his clients. And I know Ryan for a very long time. I know he runs his his business. He has a firm in Burlington, a very successful one with a team of other people that he works with. But I got introduced to Ryan for one of my personal deal that I was doing. Actually, I was doing an investment at that time. And Ryan helped me through that deal, and we closed on that deal. So from that time onwards, I knew Ryan was really professional and was in the position to help make things happen. And after that, we've done a lot of business together. And that's why I thought that today's podcast, given this crazy times that we are in, Ryan would be a perfect person to bring to the table his expertise and share some knowledge with you. So welcome, Ryan, and I'm so happy that you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you for the kind introduction and kind words. It's always a pleasure to help you out and work with you. So I'm looking forward to this podcast.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much. So first of all, I would like you to introduce yourself in terms of your expertise. What do you specialize in? What's your what is the thing that you help people with most? If you can give us that idea, that'll be a great start.
Yeah, no, sure. I'd be glad to. So I've been a practicing lawyer since 2007. So I think I'm now kind of in or completed my 17th year of practice. Since 2014, I've had Carson Law, and in 2017, I acquired and merged Carson Law to a long-standing firm in Burlington called Breen Law. So been practicing and been a business owner and entrepreneur since 2014. Really enjoy working with real estate investors and business owners alike. Enjoy the breadth of what that means from a planning and practice standpoint. I personally work with obviously real estate matters, but also corporate business matters, wills, powers of attorney, family trust, estate administration matters. Those are all sort of what I do myself at a high level. I mean, there's lots of intricate details in each of those categories, but at a high level, that's what I do. And then I have some colleagues that are lawyers and associates at the firm here. One does corporate matters, but does patents and trademarks and copyright as well.
Oh, wow.
One lawyer in our office does litigation, whether it's at the landlord tenant tribunals. So we'll act for landlords and tenants on matters in the Residential Tenancies Act and Landlord Tenant Board for Ontario. So she does that. She does small claims. She does divisional court, superior court actions in Ontario. And then we have another colleague that assists me with other corporate matters, estate matters. He does estate litigation as well.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, and
That's a
so
wide
it
variety.
keeps us busy. So it's
Yeah.
me and a team of 4 lawyers, and we've got about 20 staff with clerks and assistants, and it's good. It's been a great journey, and I look forward to more.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And that's the beauty about real estate, right? Like there are so many avenues of real estate. So having this team with you, working with other 4 lawyers and other, employees gives you that bandwidth, right? To work with many clients at the same time and offering the expertise that they need in order to, venture out in this field of real estate. So that's really amazing. You've built that up.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been exciting. There's challenges like everybody faces on a day-to-day,
Yeah.
week-to-week basis, but no, we've got a good team of lawyers here, and we've got good staff of clerk and assistants, and we hope that, we're helping clients accomplish goals and overcome challenges and solve problems for people, and that's really the value add that we're trying to create for people in their experience with us.
Awesome, awesome. So Ryan, while we are on that topic, can you share some of the recent experiences that you probably had with clients that you're working with or have worked in the past that faced some challenges and how you were able to help them overcome them?
Yeah. So one that was more recent, good client of mine, known him for many years. He's um, a real estate investor, business owner himself. Long story short, he had a property that was worth about 2.5 to $3 million. Sorry, about $3 to $3.5 million.
Okay.
And long story short, the mortgage matured, and there was the expectation that they were going to enter into a renewal with the same lender and so forth. Long story short, that didn't materialize, and then months and months passed, and it got to a point where it was in a collections proceeding, and so he needed some
Oh,
help fast. And we were. This doesn't mean that we're going to be able to pull this off all the time, but the
right.
stars all aligned, and everything was in a good spot, and the property is a great property. And so that significantly helped. And so we were able to find a lender, a private lender who did like an equity assessment of the property. And
Okay.
we got the deal cleaned up in like less than 2 weeks, and, saved
Wow.
in the property from like the lender, taking it on the sale of power of sale, and coordinated quite a success, I think, for him in keeping that property, and took a lot of stress off of his shoulders and his wife's shoulders as far as the property was concerned. So that was kind of a recent success story. Unfortunately, I think whether listeners are on this call are in, have experienced this themselves, or know others that have experienced this. It's probably on the increase and the rise right now. Just it's harder to qualify for
Yeah.
your traditional mortgages, whether they're at the banks or credit unions, B lenders, even privates. Like everybody's kind of pulling back the reins a bit, and
Hmm.
having harder and higher standards to reach, to be able to, to get those loans.
Yeah.
And so lending's a kind of a tricky spot to be in, and we're just, we're seeing more and more people needing some help in that area.
Absolutely.
So
Wow.
yeah, so we're
That's a
glad that
great
we
deal. I
were
mean,
able to
if you
help.
if you save that client, that big amount, 3 to 3.5 million range, that definitely must have been a lot of stress.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It was, it's definitely something obviously that um would have been stressful for sure.
Right.
But a great success story for not
Great
only
success.
like us, but also for the client, and they're in a great spot right now. And like I said, it all really came together because the property was a great value,
Right.
at a low like LTV, and the new lender was able to be in a first mortgage, and so
Perfect.
forth, right? So
Mm.
really, it really didn't even matter that much on the client as the borrower, the lender was happy just with the value of the property, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, so that doesn't happen all the time, but I'm
Yeah.
glad in this case it did, because it's a good client, and really happy that we were able to help them out.
Excellent. Excellent.
Probably other like success stories that we're seeing right now, not myself, but my colleague Sarah, who does more of that litigation, as it relates to the real estate and landlord tenant tribunal matters and so forth. She does some power of sale matters as well. She recently got an order and a judgment for a client of ours who brought a lawsuit for a buyer who breached the terms of an agreement and didn't
Okay.
close on the deal. So she
Yeah.
was successfully able to put together a claim against the breaching party, and navigate our client through the process of relisting the property, reselling it, filing the claim. Long story short, basically gone through the trial process and discovery, and I believe she was awarded a default judgment and order for the breaching party to have to pay
Okay.
now. And it was a sizable amount. It was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that she was able to obtain. So we're really
Mhm.
happy for that success story with our client, you know, being able to get that in place
For
for our
sure.
client, because again, that was obviously a situation where um our client, you know, thought they had a sale, and they did have
Mhm.
a sale, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, sadly, unfortunately, the buyer couldn't close or didn't want to close, and um sometimes buyers think they can just do that and, you know, get away with it because people won't go through the process, and it
Yeah.
is a process. It's timely, it can be stressful, it can be costly. um but I think people think uh you know, parties that are not in breach of an agreement of purchase and sale are just going to let it go,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
or forget about it, or whatever the case may be. And our client didn't, or they didn't want to, and Sarah did a great job helping them through the process to navigate a fairly successful outcome, in having a default judgment ordered against the other party.
Wonderful, wonderful. Because that's so true. I mean, the agreement of purchase and sale is such an important document. It's a legal document that you're signing that you are going to buy this property. So if you have any doubts, any sort of, sort of uncertainty about it, then you should really think whether you should go ahead with that contract.
Hmm.
So when
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
doing,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, sadly, you know, some other success stories again that Sarah and I have been working on, that's, you know, somewhat related to, I think, what we're going to be talking about today. Um, you know, we've had some success in the, you know, landlord tenant tribunals with getting some eviction notices for landlords evicting some tenants that were, you know, breaching their tenant obligations, whether it was under the rental agreement or under the statute and so forth. So we've had some success in that regard. Or
okay.
I know Sarah's had some success. If they weren't eviction notices, they were like fines and penalties for the tenant, and then the collection of that. So
Mm,
we've been seeing some success in those areas of late. And we've had some clients who are lenders on properties that Sarah and I have done um, recent demand letters, notice of sale proceedings, um, the, you know, claims under the Mortgages Act for power of sale. So, um, fortunately, we haven't got to the point where we actually had to take possession and or sell the properties.
okay.
Fortunately, um, sometimes when you turn up the heat on people with the demand letter followed by the notice of sale and then the statement of claim for the, you know, power of sale under the Mortgages Act, that kind of
Hmm.
shows the borrowers and people that you're pretty serious. This, you know, this
Yeah.
isn't going to get any better. If anything, it means the property is going to be taken from you and sold by the lender or the mortgagee.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants to do that, but
Absolutely.
you know, the lenders have, you know, lent the money, and then there's the obligation or the terms that, you know, you're supposed to be paying or
Yeah.
pay it
Yeah.
out by a certain date. And so we've successfully helped some of our lenders through that process of late. And I suspect there'll be, fortunately, some more situations, you know, coming.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that those are those are not, on a volume
Yeah.
basis. So it's good that those are they come in, small amounts and so forth, because that would be terrible to hear that, our
Absolutely.
clients are in those situations, but then also borrowers are feeling that kind of pressure. That would be very tough.
Correct, correct. So true, so true. And this is the time where, qualification is harder, is more difficult. Less lenders are more likely to just, give out mortgages and loans. But that also opens a window. Like for me, when I'm showing clients some properties, when we're having discussions, we're also finding quite good deals available because the number of buyers that are actually qualified, pre-approved, and ready to go are lesser than when the interest rates were quite low. So
Hmm.
people who are pre-approved and actually, looking to buy in the next 6 months or 3 months, they have a very good chance of getting a good deal under their belt. Just because the number of buyers is also limited right now. Number of people are just waiting, they are on the fence whether to go ahead and buy.
Hmm.
So the actual people who are active in the market, like I just did a recent deal for a very young family. They wanted a condo in Mississauga, and we were able to get a very good deal for them just because of the fact that, first of all, the number of buyers were less, and using some negotiation skills and all that, I was able to bring them to a point that they were really excited. They liked the property, and they found what they were looking for in that particular place. So there is that window of opportunity for some people who are, if they're ready, they should really grab that opportunity and run with it. you know
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. Like, I know that, I know that there is a sort of a survey, or there's information out there that a lot of people who are buyers who are ready to purchase, whether it's their first time owning a property or they've owned multiple properties, a lot of buyers are sitting sort of on the sidelines waiting. It seems like people are waiting for, drops in the interest rate to occur
Right.
and so forth, which is understandable, I think, from a standpoint of, people are really looking at the affordability on a month-to-month basis of like
Mhm.
that property. Is it cash flow positive, and
Right.
if it's an investment, or if it's personal property, is it affordable to the point that you're not gonna strap yourself financially?
Absolutely.
But I do agree with you, like, if you know you have a mortgage pre-approval, and you have a mortgage commitment, and you can get it, and you know what price range is that
Hmm.
you can qualify for at the upper echelon. And I mean, there's great opportunities out there, because there's still probably, I mean, I guess there's a bit of a drop in like the numbers of properties listed, but there's still quite a bit of property out there.
Yes.
But there's significantly less buyers out there. And so it means you'll kind of likely, for the first time in many, many years, have a bit of a pick of maybe, what property you might buy. And not in all areas, but in lots of areas of the province, and especially around the Golden Horseshoe, you might be able to avoid, paying list price and or getting in, like you said, multiple offer situations, right?
Yeah.
And that hasn't been seen for many years. So I think
Absolutely.
there is something to be said about getting out there, not being on the sideline right now,
Oh yeah.
and hopefully taking advantage of what benefits there are in the market, because there definitely are, and there's definitely some disadvantages, but I think there's definitely, for the right, the right situation, and for the right buyer, there is some opportunities out there that are worth purchasing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because, the thing is, like we've seen that when the interest rates drop, the prices start to increase too at the same time, right?
Yes,
So
yeah, and
if
and
you,
and yeah, it's fine timing, right? Like, no one
exactly.
has a crystal ball to know like what event, or what interest rate drop is going to make it so like the masses kind of come back into the market. But as you and I were saying, sort of separate before we started today, I think the second you see some sort of additional drop in the interest rate, that's when everybody's going to jump. And the problem is, now you're just in there with everybody else, and now you might even flip from it being a balanced or buyer market to a seller's market again,
Seller's market,
because
absolutely,
the
100%.
supply is in there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Even with more people listing their properties, I think you're still going to have a supply shortage.
yeah, yeah. So true, so true. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So it's really, I mean, I'm sure people listening are getting value out of this conversation. To time it right, you really have to look at your personal situation and see if this is right for you. If there is a scenario where you think that you need more information, feel free to reach out to us. If you need any help from the realtor perspective, you can connect with me, and any legal questions that you may have, Ryan is also willing to answer your questions for you. If you were listening to it now, you can put it in the chat, and then I'm sure that we will get back to the chat and answer those questions for you. So don't hesitate to do that either. So, Ryan, just have one more question in terms of the legal implications. Like what, like before at the time of closing, what would you recommend the client to be ready with? I'm just talking about a residential client, first time home buyer or resale. What would you say at the closing? What's the most crucial thing for them to be ready with for their successful close?
Yeah, I mean, I like obviously the lawyers are involved, pretty much at the end of the transaction. I mean, obviously they would have spent quite a bit of, productive time with yourself as a realtor and their mortgage representative earlier in the process. I
Right.
think the biggest thing that helps the buyer client have a smooth transaction on closing is just really connecting the realtor and the mortgage rep with the lawyer early in the process of what the lawyer is going to do. So in that last, whether it's 2 to 4 weeks of time before the closing, I mean, really those professionals should have, gotten connected with one another, gotten an understanding and a snapshot of how this is all supposed to come together, collected all the information they need from the client. At that point, you're really hoping that all the mortgage instructions and property insurance are in the lawyer's hands. Like, in an ideal world, no later than 5 business days from closing, but hopefully preferably sort of 10.
Right, right.
Um, and that's probably really the biggest thing. It's just kind of making sure everybody's on the same page and utilizing the time that you have. I think time is probably potentially a person's greatest enemy in these kinds of matters nowadays. Yes, there's a lot of things that are making the process maybe faster and more efficient in a lot of industries, with technology and automation
Right,
and
right.
so forth, but there's still the human element. The human element still plays a big part in all of what we do, which is good. But I think at the end of the day, time is everybody's greatest enemy because we can't get it back. Like we can't go back a
Mm,
couple days and give the
make
information at
changes.
that point. So the
True.
sooner we can have everything we need, I think that is really 50 to 75% of the challenge that ends up causing a delay or a rockier closing, when you're talking about the client's experience with the lawyer,
Right,
right?
right, yeah.
So we try to make sure all of our deals, if we have them early enough, like we've got them open 30 days from closing. We send out information sheets to collect from the buyer or the seller client to say, like, who are all your contacts for the mortgage and so forth, so that hopefully not only can they track it down and get those people in touch with us, but we can track it down too if it's getting a little bit later in the day on what we need and what we don't have. I think that's a huge part of it. I would say another thing that helps people, and this is probably something I don't see done enough, but I think especially just with the climate we're in with just the challenge of qualifying for mortgages. I mean, like a pre-approval is good, but
Mhm.
I mean, it is only a pre-approval. It doesn't, things can happen or so forth to kind of change the terms sometimes.
Mhm.
I think it's really important to have a plan B, like one that
Mm.
is definitely not gonna get, modified or taken away from you. That might be a B lender, that might be a private lender, but having a plan B that you can action quickly if something, you know, unexpected or unlikely occurs, in the week of closing or days leading up to the closing, that can really save the client a lot of stress, as well. Having that plan B, usually the plan B, if it's a buyer, relates to like having a plan B of financing, a plan B of insurance coverage. Those are the things that could be delayed or scuttled at the last minute that normally cause the buyer to have a problem, right?
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, that's really good. Even for the timing that you mentioned, Ryan, that's so critical. Because I have what I have created in my business is templates for all those timelines, right?
Yes.
So the moment there is an accepted offer, I have a template that I've created with the dates and with the number of business days. And what I do is I literally send that email on the day of the offer acceptance. So they know that exactly in the 3 business days, 5 business days, 7 business days, what are their action steps that they need to take. So they have their clarity in their mind, even if because they don't have to go back to the agreement of purchase and sale and look at that whole schedule A and schedule B. I send them that email from me. And I've heard so many, so much feedback from that because they just refer to that email again and again. And
Hmm.
at this date, I'm supposed to do this. It's almost like a checklist that is created for them. So that puts into perspective the timelines that they need to follow. Like for example, title search, right? Title search is something that happens just 15 days or 20 days before the closing. But if your closing is say in 60 days, then you might forget that date,
Yeah.
right? So if you like I always make sure that I remind them, hey, have you already spoken to the lawyer? Have you got that clear? But that's something that is in that checklist. That is something that I'm following up with them to make sure that everything is in place. So education becomes a very critical piece, and these follow-ups and these templates are definitely important tools for our clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And that's fantastic that you do have such a systematized, process that you like to follow with your clients as far as, checklists and reminders and follow-ups. Those are
Yeah.
very important, very critical to help the clients, have a successful experience in closing. And like yourself, we have some of the same on our end as far as um, process and systems and follow-ups to do our very best, right? Sometimes it's just clients are in a tough spot,
Yeah, absolutely.
and those are the ones where you just have to kind of, I think, again, using the time as well as you can, as early as you can in the process,
Hmm.
is really important.
It's really important. That's amazing. All right, that's great, Ryan. Great conversation. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sure that people got some nuggets just from listening to our conversation. They maybe move to towards buying their first home or buying their investment property. And again, if you're listening to this right now, make sure that you connect with us. Ryan, can you please share your contact information if they need to get in touch with you, please?
Sure. I'll put it in the group chat too, if that works.
Okay.
But my name is Ryan Carson. You can reach me at Ryan@Carson law.ca. So that's RYAN@CARSONLAW.ca. Or you can give us a call at the office, which is 905-336-8940, and my direct extension is 1001.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, that's the best way to get hold of Ryan, and he can guide you through the process. Any difficulty that you have, you can reach out and ask him questions. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing that information.
Well, you're very welcome. And I posted our website too, which is www.carsonlaw.ca.
Oh, perfect. That's excellent. All right. So thank you so much, Ryan. Any, before we wrap up, any last minute tip you want to share with the audience?
Just just don't be afraid to rely on your advisors and your power team. Reach out to them early in the process. Um, Better to be proactive than to kind of
Mhm.
put your head in the sand and think the problem might go away. So, if you need any help on any of the items that you and I talked about today, Amit, we'd be happy to help anybody who's listening or watching. And if you're not sure if it's something that we help with, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll definitely confirm if it's something we can do directly or refer, to competent counsel.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan. Again, that was great. Great answering of all the questions that we have. And thank you so much for your time today. I really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
you being here.
My pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. So thank you so much for listening in today. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast, Real Estate Matters. As you know, these are some of the important tips that you get. These are some of the important conversations that needed to be have as of today. These conversations are very relevant to what's going on right now. It will give you the tools. It will give you some of the pointers, some of the tips that will help you to make real estate decisions much easier, much faster. And of course, the best way to gain that knowledge is to connect with us, connect with me. My contact information is my cell phone, 416-627-4007, or you can email me at amit@amitrealestateteam.com. And I'll be sure to get back to you as early as possible and answer any questions that you have for real estate. If you want the template that I was specifically speaking about, feel free to reach out and I'll send you the information that without which you cannot really make a decision whether this is the right time for you or not. Okay. So thank you so much for listening in. And again, to connect, 416-627-4007. Make sure that you join me for my next episode, episode number 7, Real Estate Podcast. And this will be the next level of information that you will receive from these podcasts. Thank you so much, and you have a good evening. Bye-bye.